Hello, it's Jenny from Surroundings. I'm here with Andy from Perdomo, and he's visiting us today, something I didn't expect, so it was a nice surprise to see Andy, and I asked him if we could do a little interview like we did yesterday with Nook, and he was all on board. So he works for Perdomo, and he's our Perdomo rep. We do a big event every 4th of July weekend every year. This year is going to be our 13th year that we've done this, and it's also the year we're unsure of when it lands because 4th of July is on the 4th. The Forest Festival isn't scheduled yet, and we also have a cigar show in Vegas the weekend before. So when does that start? That's June?
It ends the Tuesday before the 4th, which would be the 2nd.
Okay.
So it'll start 4 days prior to that, so end of June.
Okay, yeah, so end of June it ends, and then they come back that Wednesday. So it's kind of up in the air yet, so I will be updating you when we know the dates as it comes, but this will be our 13th year. So Andy, we are smoking the 10-year anniversary, which happens to be our top seller in the humidor at the moment. Well, it has been for years, actually. Yeah. The Churchill size seems to sell the most. Can you tell us a little bit about this cigar?
So the Champagne 10th anniversary is Perdomo's best-selling cigar worldwide. This is a U.S. Connecticut on a Nicaraguan filler and binder. We classify it as mild, getting close to medium. It is a great cigar for anybody, whether it's a beginner who wants something on the mild end, but even folks who have been smoking a long time. There's a lot of interesting things happening in this cigar. So
yeah.
People really appreciate it. It is very smooth, produces an enormous amount of smoke, very creamy. But the Nicaraguan filler and binder really bring out a lot of interesting aspects that you wouldn't find in a Connecticut otherwise.
I can tell that. It's been a while since I've smoked this, and there is a lot of flavor in this Connecticut. Is there any other like up and coming cigars or big hot things that are happening with Perdomo?
So we don't have any new cigars planned that I'm aware of.
Okay.
The FDA kind of put a kibosh on that. We did not have any new releases last year, no new releases this year, and I'm not aware of anything on the horizon. The FDA makes it really difficult to come out with something new. So. And
that's, nationwide. If it's FDA controlled, it's not just like a Michigan thing or state controlled.
Correct.
I get that question a lot.
Correct.
On that day. I'll say a new rule happened, FDA controlled, and they'll say, oh, that's just Michigan, And so, nope, it's on the wide scale. But we do have another hot seller, the small batch that had come out a few years ago.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that cigar?
So the small batch is all what we call cafe sizes, so it's smaller sizes. The largest one in that is going to be a Toro. That is the same leaves and the same blend as going to the 12-year, but with a separate aging process. And they are a small production cigar. There are not a lot of folks in Michigan that have it, but you guys do.
We do. We carry the Connecticut, and then we do have the tins of the Maduro and the Sun-Grown.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and given that we're coming up on Michigan winters, smaller sizes are great.
Oh, yeah. Shorter smokes.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Well, you brought up whether it's a Michigan regulation and things like that, and that is something important because you guys are coming up on the review of your 50-cent cap.
Oh, the 50-cent cap.
Yeah,
okay.
And that's a huge thing for those of us who buy and smoke in Michigan.
Yeah.
If that goes away, we're looking at a big jump potentially in the price of cigars. So people should be concerned about that. They should become aware and educated on that and start talking to powers that be about, making sure that 50-cent cap stays in play.
Is there like a website or any way that they can contact or get involved?
I believe that the Michigan IPCPR website has information on that, about how they can become involved.
Okay, and I can find that link and put it somewhere in this. It might be in the comments or wherever I decide. I'm not sure yet. It'll be somewhere.
That would be an important one.
Yeah.
Because that affects everybody, no matter whether you're smoking Perdomo or not. It's going to affect your buying habits, your smoking habits, and it affects your favorite, such as Surroundings.
Yeah.
Brick and mortar. So.
Because right now with tobacco tax, we pay 50 cents per cigar as a tax. If it's under $1.50 or something smaller, then it's 32%, which in the past it's gone up to 64% or something in Michigan.
I think before the 50-cent cap rule came into play, it was in the 60s.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And that puts a large
Well, that's a
chunk
big jump,
onto
right?
your cigar.
You're half again as much, you know.
Mhm.
So your $8 cigar just became a $12 cigar.
Yeah, yep.
And that's a big deal. You can ask anybody if you're not familiar with what you were paying, all you got to do is call somebody in California or downtown Chicago and find out what they're paying to find out how important this 50-cent
Yeah,
cap is.
because in California, isn't it like 112% or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. In Chicago, it's a big jump as well. So it's nearly 90%, I think.
So these are things that we're well aware of because we're in the cigar industry, but when you're as a buyer aren't always, you always don't know, you just see the price jump and you're not aware that it's taxes
Right,
you're paying,
right.
you're not paying for the cigar, so.
Right. It's something that we have a voice in controlling.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, well thanks for bringing that up because I didn't realize that was coming up soon, so.
Yeah, we're less than 2 years on that being reviewed. So.
Okay, so we can start taking
Yeah.
action. Does anybody here have any questions for Andy? We do have a couple people in the back room, so this is kind of exciting.
Well, I was just curious. We were just talking about mixed sticks,
Mm-hmm.
and are they out of production?
Nope, Nick sticks are in production still, and that the way I understand it, that was Nick's first cigar. He actually began manufacturing that in his garage, from what I hear.
Wow.
So, yeah, 27 years ago, I think now. So.
Wow. Yeah.
So in cases like that, we could actually go to Jenny and say, "Can you get some of these in for me?"
And we would be happy to
Yeah.
order that. If we don't carry a product that you want on our shelves, and we have a rep like Andy for it, like so any Perdomo product, we will order you a box, to carry in the humidor. We've done that for a few people.
Yeah.
So, so feel free to let us know if there's something that you'd like us to get for you. So,
I have a question. My question is, I understand that these are aged already and that it's not really necessary to age them, but do you ever hear anybody talk about aging these things for a year and if they improve?
that's a great question.
Yeah, that is a good question. So Nick has said, and as a company, we pride ourselves on, if you're buying that cigar, it's ready. We've already gone through the aging for you. You shouldn't have to wait. You shouldn't have to wait to give us your money, and you shouldn't have to wait to smoke it. So that idea of aging cigars, I believe, comes from Cubans, where the rush to get them in your hands was such that they were not ready to be smoked. Most major manufacturers today have the time to age a cigar before you're going to get it.
So, as far as you guys, then you would not think that it would improve the taste or the flavor or the draw or any of the features if you age it for 6 months to a year?
Well, I've never had a cigar sit in my humidor long enough to determine that. So, but as far as draw and things like that go, we have an enormous number of quality control steps in the rolling room alone, not to mention everything that happens before that, including hand draw testing every single cigar that we manufacture. So the likelihood of ending up with a plugged Perdomo should be pretty slim. So you wouldn't see a change in that by aging. Most of the quality control things aren't going to be affected through an aging process.
And then does Nick have any, or you have any thoughts on the humidity in your humidor? I mean, I'm at 66 right now. Is that?
Do they draw well for you? Do you enjoy them?
Everything's working fine.
Then it's the right humidity level.
Is there something better?
Well,
That's a great question because I have mine at 68.
yeah,
Is that?
it's really a matter of preference, I think. I know some folks that want to keep it a little higher. They're going 70%. That to me seems too high, but what
That's
do I
their
know?
preference type
Yeah.
thing. Okay.
What
Yeah.
happens? What's the difference between 66 and 70 in your mind? What
Uh,
happens to the cigar?
Well, when we're talking about from a math standpoint, not much. When we're talking about from standing outside, can I tell the difference between 68% humidity and 70%? Not much. But when we're talking about tobacco, which is going to absorb moisture like a sponge, it can make a fairly big difference. You know, an over-humidified cigar has more likelihood of swelling, right, when heated, and is going to have trouble remaining lit.
Okay, so that's kind of how you can tell if your humidity is a little too high.
Yeah. So I've in the past, if I've made a mistake and had humidity too high in my humidor, they'll swell and they'll split.
Okay.
So you can run the risk of damaging cigars.
What about temperature? I mean,
We live in the Midwest,
Yeah.
right? It's either 110 or 30 below. So, it's, but, you don't want it over a heat vent in the winter, I've almost always kept my cigars in the basement where it's going to be cooler and the humidity is going to be a little higher.
I recently purchased a wine door. Have you ever seen those? And then the guy took out all the wine stuff and built the cigar racks for me and put them in. And so we're keeping that, right around 66 as well.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that 60 to 70 range for both humidity and temperature is supposedly ideal.
That's what we always tell people. We tell people don't leave your cigars in the car, whether it's hot or cold or anything like that. Not put it over a vent. I tell them a closet with their humid pack in there is fine, or a cupboard if they don't have their own humidor.
Right.
So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And then if a cigar is too dry, it's not. I get a lot of questions on, hey, this cigar is really hard. It's dry, and I keep telling them no.
That's not necessarily the case.
It'll be
right.
crunchy, right?
Yeah.
It'll be kind of, but don't go into somebody's humidor and start squeezing cigars either.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad.
Just trust that it's been taken
Trust-
care of. Yeah.
Trust your retailer that they've taken care of it.
You can kind of tell. Yeah.
Because the wrapper on a cigar is really, really delicate, and a huge pet peeve is the guy that walks in and squeezes all the cigars never buys the one that he squeezed.
And it's going to be the.
And so the next poor guy that walks along, the likelihood of his ending up with a damaged cigar now increases, for which he'll blame the retailer, right? And it's really just some guy that was being inconsiderate.
And that was cool that you brought up about. I was wondering because Greg is really fussy with the draw on his cigars. He likes his cigars to draw really well, and he's a big Perdomo fan. So that's probably why you not only the taste, but having the consistent draw is important. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and consistency is huge throughout it. If you fall in love with the way the champagne tastes today, it had best taste exactly the same a year from now, 2 years from now, and that's just another element of the quality control that we have. That because we grow almost all of our tobacco, we have the ability to ensure that ratio is the same all the time. That what went into this cigar came from the same plot in the same farm year after year, so that it will be the same.
Very cool.
So on the handcrafted and the nick, it doesn't say, like an age, like some of them say 12 years or. So what's the typical age of a?
Oh, so tobacco, by the time from the point of harvest to the time it ends up in your hand, is a huge amount of time. I mean, it's a really, really long time. Fermentation alone, so after it's been through the curing barn and everything else, fermentation alone can take up to 3 years, depending on the tobacco. And then it goes into dry bale aging, which can take another several years.
A lot of patience with cigars.
Yeah, the return on investment there is small. Like people knew everything that went into a cigar, even from the time that, we're in a capitalist culture that says, get it, turn it over, make the money, right? And but that doesn't work that way with tobacco. It is not unusual for tobacco from the time it's harvested to the time it ends up in your hand, for that to be a span of 6-10 years. That's a long time without seeing a return. Not to mention the number of hands, the number of people, the care, everything else that goes into making it. One of the things you can do is go on our factory tour and see all this process. If people knew what went into making a cigar, they would never complain about the cost of it again.
That's true. Yeah.
And it's not unusual for 300 pairs of hands to hit tobacco in the process of its manufacture.
So are Perdomos made factory in the U.S.?
It's in Nicaragua. All our farms and our rolling facilities are in Nicaragua.
And then they get shipped to, is the
Then
main,
headquarters is in Miami. Everything comes into Miami for distribution.
Okay,
Cool, thank you.
cool. Any other questions? Do you have one, Bob? No? All right. Well, here's Andy from Perdomo, and I hope you guys are all having a great day, and we will set some dates as soon as I get to them. All right? Thank you.